everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to do some box office reporting for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in its opening weekend within cinemas, covering the weekend of May the 4th to May the 7th, 2023, which also includes the Thursday previews. Now there could be spoilers for both the movie and all other movies and television series within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so just beware when going into this overall video, and you can check out both my non-spoiler and spoiler reviews of the movie, and I'll leave some links within the description. So we then go on to the box office figures for Guardians of the Galaxy, and within US cinemas, it grossed around 114 million in its opening weekend, finally dethroning Super Mario Bros. After a 4-week run at the top. In terms of international markets, the movie has grossed over 168 million to give an overall global total of 282 million worldwide. So the questions are being asked, is this a good or bad opening? Well, in terms of a general opening for any big movie, this is overall very good. In the context of this year, it's the second highest opening weekend after Super Mario Bros., of course. And at this stage, I can only really envisage 3, maybe 4 movies at the most that may have the potential to have a higher grossing weekend within the US cinemas than what we saw with Guardians of the Galaxy. And for almost every other studio, $114 million would be cause to celebrate. But of course, we're talking about Marvel, and because of that, there's a whole different criteria and expectation level in terms of success that we have to apply. And in that perspective, we do have to say that this weekend is very much a declined performance when you consider that Volume 2 opened back to 146 million in 2014. We could then carry out a more recent comparison and look at the last year's Marvel's movies. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness opened to 187 million, Black Panther Wakanda Forever opened to 181 million, and Thor Love and Thunder opened up with 144 million. And we also consider the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy are one of the most popular characters within the MCU, and this is why nearly all of us felt that Volume 3 would have been the only Marvel release that would have had any chance of breaking $1 billion at the box office. Well, after this weekend, I'm really not sure that it will manage to get to that total in its overall tally. So coming from that perspective, if we deem this to be an underperformance, what were the main causes or reasons for this? Well, from looking at the movie itself, I really do feel that there was a certain lack of promotion. Going into this movie, what was the story? What was the main plot? Were there any hints at the wider universe or indeed the multiverse saga that has been promoted heavily within this Phase 5? We didn't really see a lot of the main villain in terms of the High Evolutionary. No real illusion as to what his main motivation was or his power set. There were no taglines of the epic conclusion or the final big chapter or the last time regarding these characters. So there was no big selling point to really generate a lot of hype this time round. And I do also think that the film's more darker and somber and sadder elements may have put off some of the family-friendly audience that has become so connected with the MCU. There would have been many people who disliked the torture scenes of Rocket in terms of his backstory, where certain characters such as Lylla being killed, other scenes where we see a test subject being incinerated, and that type of tone and subject matter just isn't what the family audience would have been used to when going into these movies. The Guardians of the Galaxy, for the most part, has been very much of an upbeat, very high-spirited, and ultimately very fun narrative and tone. And this is the curse in many ways of being a massively successful brand, is that there is a certain image and perception that's expected, and if your content veers away from that expectation in an attempt to do something different, then that's where you can get the backlash and rejection from your audience. We then look at the other side of that, which is if you stick to your formula, you then get accused of being just the same. We get the accusations of the usual Marvel cookie cutter, never wanting to take risks or branch out of the safe zone that they've built their foundation on. So really, Marvel have become victims of their own success creatively. And when we look at where the MCU is now in terms of Phase 5, there really isn't the same hype and momentum as what there was when Volume 2 was released. That's when we were really into the thick of Phase 3, building up towards the Infinity War and the emergence of Thanos. Back then, audiences were very excited for comic book movies, and we could agree that that excitement isn't as high going into 2022 and 2023. And this will again bring up the debate about superhero movie fatigue, and again, I don't believe that. I believe any fatigue is set by the bad, mediocre quality. If you present audiences with good content, then they will never get tired of it. And I believe that that mediocre quality is certainly what we have seen within Phase 4, especially with the expansion of the Disney Plus shows. And this is another issue that you have when you're building a connected universe where each television show or movie is relying on the previous one released. If the previous piece of content isn't as good, then you're not going to be enthusiastic for the next installment coming up. And as again, Marvel previously used to be able to get fans excited leading in from one content to the next. And we've seen that effect already with Quantumania, which really was the big underperformer no matter which way you look at it. And I think we could all agree that there is less hype with the Marvels. Carol Danvers and Brie Larson, of course, we all know, proved to be very divisive amongst audiences, not only because of her press statement, but also because of the fact that the character really didn't feel that earned and that important. Many people felt that they were duped in many ways into believing that Carol Danvers would have a significant part to play, especially in between both Infinity War and Endgame. And many people felt that the character has been underwritten and has a certain lack of personality. So I don't believe that the Marvels will come anywhere close to performing as well as Guardians of the Galaxy. So when we look at Guardians of the Galaxy overall, Volume 3, how well will it perform? I'm going to say that we're probably looking at anything from around $650 to maybe $750 million worldwide. I think the fact that it's got very good critical reception will help. If we look at most of the Phase 4 movies, they didn't really have very strong word of mouth, and I think that affected both their second and third weekends. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has another week at the top before Fast X comes through on May the 19th. So hopefully the good word of mouth will give it strong legs in its second and third weekend, and that's when we will be able to really gauge as to how successful it will be. As I stated before, I don't believe it will come anywhere close to $1 billion, but if it can get around 750, maybe even 800 million, then that will be, I think, a good enough sign given where the Marvel Cinematic Universe currently is at. But we will just have to wait and see overall how well the movie performs in the future. But I will reiterate once again that this is not yet the end of the MCU. If it indeed underperforms and the Marvel underperforms, and then maybe the first 1 or 2 movies next year underperform, then that's when I think we can start maybe signalling danger signs or alarm bells as to where the franchise goes forward so far. But we will wait and see in the second and third weekends of how well Volume 3 of the Guardians of the Galaxy does before we can determine whether it is a success or indeed a flop. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings and box office reporting on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this is a good or bad weekend? Do you think it is indeed alarm bells now for Marvel Cinematic Universe? Or do you think that the MCU was already dead within Phase 4? Do you think we should have taken a real 3 to 4 or even 5 year break after the crazy heights of Endgame? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as usual, if we have any other major headlines in terms of the financial performance of Guardians of the Galaxy, then I will indeed cover it on this channel. And if you have any other topics or movies or television series within the entertainment culture that you'd like to see me cover, then also let me know within the comments and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please consider hitting like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.